Good morning, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Eugene. My name is Maggie Covarrubias, and I'm one of the practitioners here. And I would like to welcome you to our Sunday meditation time. So I invite you to, whether you are here in the sanctuary or at home, take a deep breath. Release that breath. Let everything go. All the busyness of the week, any worries, any cares, let that go. And settle into a moment of sacred, beautiful practice, our meditation. And so I know right here, right now, as I enter into this meditation, that I can feel within me and all around me the divine, loving presence that lives in all things, that blooms the flowers, that calls the sun to rise and shine, that gently brings the rain to fall upon the land. I am one with this presence. It is within me. It is around me. It vibrates in every cell and every living thing on this planet. And so I take time and I let myself be one with that presence. As I settle and understand deeply this divine love and presence, I feel it within myself, and I allow myself to go even deeper into that knowledge, into that love, into that light. realize that I am on a divine, beautiful path. I am always safe, always embraced in divine love, divine presence. I honor that within me, and I let go of anything that has held me back from that knowledge. I let it go and it drifts away. And in its place comes love and peace and joy. I know that this loving presence that lives within me, that surrounds me, creates for me each and every day a new day. I am renewed each and every day. The past doesn't matter. I am new, and I see the world with a sense of wonder, a sense of joy, a sense of exuberance. Just as a small child, I am in every day, in every moment, renewed. And in this moment of quiet, I realize that there's nothing else I need to do. Being here, being present, I am deeply, completely loved by that divine presence, that sacred power. And I allow myself to see myself and know myself as that divine presence knows me. Perfect, whole, complete, beloved. And I rest in that knowledge. And as I come to the end of this meditation, I know that each and every moment holds a miracle, that each smile, each person I see is loving, and that this life is a gift, a profound gift, and I say yes, I embrace it, I live it fully, I am grateful, and so it is.
I'm Alice.
And we're with the Joy Notes, and we're going to just do some congregational songs here today if you'll join us.
So everyone stand on
Everybody,
up.
yes. Get your lungs ready.
It's
And every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes, and all we know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us to be free. Find your heart, let yourself simply be. We can all have everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us here and now. Now, if you'll find a moment and just greet your neighbors next to you. I know, I missed that. I keep missing that.
It's all good. It's all good. I miss stuff all the time. But, you know.
It's all good. Yeah, we could good. And yes, if you'll quiet your cell phones and come back to your seats, and we'll sing one more. There is moment in this place. I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only one. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. Thank you.
Am I on? Thank you, V and Alice. My name is Kathy Geeson. I'm presider of the day. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living. Tearing up already with that song. As soon as those words come, there is only love, you know, and that's why I'm here. I've been gone for a couple of weeks, had a wonderful trip to Chicago to celebrate one of my daughter's master's degree commencement. And still, there is nothing like coming home. And this is part of my home and being here on Sundays. So very nice to be here, and welcome to all of you who are here at Center for Spiritual Living today. Honored to be here on Mother's Day. And I know we have V's mother is here and probably other mothers as well. So anyway, and that's what our talk will be about today. Center for Spiritual Living is a place where we practice the principles of science of the mind. And we know that those of us have learned from experience that those of us who practice those principles do live richer, fuller lives. So, snap. Thanks, Alice. So welcome, and I'm glad you're here today. We do have global, see, I'm on the right track here? Declaration, right. Global vision. And we are reading number 7 today. That matters not, but these are visions that Center for Spiritual Living has for all of us. We envision a world where our kinship with all life prospers and connects us through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. And I don't know about you, but hearing things auditorily, sometimes I need to hear it one more time, so I'm going to read it again. We envision a world where our kinship with all life prospers and connects us through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. Before we have our practitioner of the day, Maggie Covarrubias, come up, we're going to all stand together and sing We Are One.
We are one. We are one. I am you. You are me. We are one. And in this unity, we all live in harmony, and peace has come. For we are one. We are one. We are one. I am you. You are me. We are one. And in this unity, we all live in harmony, and peace has come. For we are one.
We are one. If you feel comfortable, take a deep breath. Release that breath. And join me in this affirmative prayer. I know right here, right now, as I join together with these sacred, beautiful souls in celebration of life, that there is a power of love and light and life that surrounds me, that embraces me, that vibrates in every cell of my being. This divine power and presence is within and without, manifesting life in this world in beautiful, amazing ways. And in this moment, as I let go of anything that distracts me, I know that I am one with that power, that presence. And in this moment, I allow myself to see myself as that divine loving presence sees me and knows me, perfect, whole, and complete, here to express joy, here to express love, here to help peace prosper in this world. And so I know as we gather in this sacred time together, in this joyful time together, that presence is among us and in us. And I know that this service, this joyful time we spend together, blesses each and every one in this room, and that the love and joy and peace that we find here cascades out as a soothing balm to this world, bringing love and joy to each and every creature in it. And so I bless this service, the wonderful talk, the amazing, beautiful music. And I know that we are one, that we are love, and that all unfolds in perfection. And I affirm these words by saying, and so it is.
Thank you, Maggie, for setting the tone for today's gathering. That's Maggie Covarrubias, one of our practitioners. Holding high watch today is Reverend Trish Mackey, and our speaker for today is Betty Cook, who's visiting us from out of state, and she can tell you a little bit more about that. We have an affirmation that we read each week, so this is the affirmation for the month of May. I will read it once and then ask you to join with me in reading it aloud. My life is an unfolding of inward journeys and outward experiences. As I open to the new perspectives that both the light and shadow bring to me, I allow my light to shine everywhere. Together, if you choose. My life is an unfolding of inward journeys and outward experiences. As I open to the new perspectives that both the light and shadow bring to me, I allow my light to shine everywhere. Thank you. So Betty Cook's talk today is not what's said on the website, on something about fear of darkness, but rather about the spiritual journey of mothering, which will be wonderful to hear. And our special music today is by Haley Duren, and her mother is here with her. Sheila has been such a wonderful part of our community, along with Haley all this time, so it's nice to have her here as well. And I'm going to put a plug in now. This Friday night is the anniversary dinner, and Haley and Matt are going to be our music, so I've got a carrot at the end of this week that I'm looking forward to. So thanks for being with us, Haley.
Yeah, it's so my pleasure, always. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. So this song actually, it doesn't really need any more introduction beside the affirmation we just read altogether. Pretty much sums it up. So it's a joy to be here with you this fine morning in the air conditioning. Thank you so much for having me. I recommend getting your heart trampled on to anyone you know, and I recommend walking around naked in your living room. Swallow it down, what a jagged little pill. It feels so good when it's swimming in your stomach. Wait until the dust settles. You live, you learn, you love, you learn, you cry, you learn, you lose, you learn, you bleed, and you learn, you scream, you learn. I recommend biting off more than you can chew to anyone. I certainly do, and I recommend sticking your foot in your mouth at any time. Oh, feel free, throw it down. The caution blocks you from the wind. Hold it up to the rays. You wait and see when the smoke clears. You live, you learn, you love, and you learn. You cry, you learn, you lose, you learn. You bleed, and you learn. You scream, you learn. What will you take from what you learn? Wear it out the way a 3-year-old would do. Melt it down, you're gonna have to eventually anyway. The fire trucks are coming up around the bend. You live, you learn, you love, and you learn. You cry, you learn, you lose, you learn. You bleed, you learn. You scream, you learn. Oh, you learn. You grieve, you learn. You choke, you learn. You laugh and you learn. You choose, you learn. You pray, you learn. You ask, you learn. You live, you learn.
Thank you very much. Love you all.
And receive ourselves, receive this message. Get ourselves into that mode. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am
I invite you to take that deep breath. And to settle into the knowing and the existence of now. And feel that heart space open. And remember, see if you can remember that first breath, that first one you took when you got here. when you said yes. I am here. I'm ready. And we breathe. And we know that the arms around us are those of love. Unconditional and unending. When we breathe and we know. I invite you to come back to me. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here today and to have the gift of the opportunity to speak with you about the profoundly spiritual journey that is mothering. So I always begin this talk by asking who here has experienced childbirth. That's a trick question. Every hand should go up. Everybody here has done this. When I think of a journey, it's easy to think of that in linear terms, right? We're usually going from A to B, and when we get in your car, it usually tells you about a trip measurement. We want the mileage. It has a beginning and a middle and an end, but in my own life, I think in terms of seasons. And I use those metaphors, the spring of youth or the autumn of midlife. But as I get older, and certainly quite a bit lately, I see that spiritual journeys are rarely linear. They may be all over the place. They don't lend themselves well to any particular form. And in preparing for this talk, I realized that many of my spiritual lessons and discoveries are circular, like many feminine things. The cycle of blood and fertility, of the moon and the seasons, things come back around for me. Each time around, I'm given the opportunity to learn the lesson, but most importantly, if I'm paying spiritual attention, I understand things in a particularly and completely different way. Perhaps because mothers are continually in motion, things are often circular. Mary Bateson, who's the daughter of Margaret Mead and Gregory Bateson, those are two sociologists, she referred to women as peripheral visionaries. She argued that because women are always aware of what is happening around them for their children and for other children, they have a 180-degree consciousness. The term multitasking isn't at all large enough for the many considerations that women begin to understand with that first positive pregnancy test. So how does it start, this journey? For some women, as soon as they know they are pregnant. For many more, as soon as they have made the decision about whether they are going to stay pregnant. Some are very planned. Many are not, but continued and accepted anyway. The thing is, at some point, a woman said yes to a soul re-entering, and in that process, she embodied you. For me, it started with these two. Look at them, young and idealistic. Salvation Army officers. They're officer school trainees. They were in Michigan. That picture of my father is in the Chicago Loop at Kettles. Those are the things that they ring at Christmas time, you know what I mean? He was in the Chicago Loop in the wintertime. That's why he's not looking too happy about it. It's true, I'm from a Salvation Army family. Both of my maternal grandparents were buried in their Salvation Army uniforms. My parents were not, though. My father left the Salvation Army for the Methodist Church before I was born. I was told it was due to family politics within the Salvation Army, but that's a lot of intrigue, right? I think they just wanted what a lot of young people wanted. They just wanted to make their own way. And here she was, Betty Lee with her children, She is holding me in the bottom right photograph. I am the youngest. The two things my mother was sure about was marrying my father and starting a family. My mother was the oldest of 8 children. She had mothered her siblings before she mothered her own. She gave birth to all of her children in hospitals. There was no one with her to help her except her nurses. In those days, the part of the delivery of the hospital that did that was called labor and delivery. You may know this. Women spent time producing the product, and that was you. What followed were the birth statistics, that's usually length and weight, right? They were weighing and judging the quality of the product. We still do parts of this process. You'll notice in birth announcements, a lot of times they give the length and the weight. We call that part of the hospital now either mother-baby or the birth center. That's what they call that now. And you'll notice that rooms look now more like bedrooms than they do like hospital rooms in that part of the hospital. And that's the only part of the hospital where they do look like that. Much of what goes on there hasn't changed much, including the lack of power in determining how they are doing the important spiritual act of childbirth. That is the interesting part of coming into the embodied experience as opposed to leaving it. There are often people with us at death, and usually someone to spiritually help us and our family with the process. A lot of times a minister or someone is there. The Catholic tradition has last rites, the Buddhist chant. The Jewish tradition welcomes the rabbi into the dying time. Not so with birth, particularly in America. While the Jewish male child will experience the ritual of the bris days after birth, there is no rabbi during labor. There is no priest, there is no Buddhist monk. So why not? What happened to the spiritual component of birth, including yours? Well, way before childbirth was done in hospitals, it was done at home. And before it was managed by doctors in hospitals, it was attended by experienced midwives. To be clear, it is still done by midwives here in America, just not as many of them. They do about, I think it's 8% of the births now in the whole country. Mostly, though, the United States is very much about doctors and hospitals. You probably entered the world in a place that looked very much like this one. After you were born, they took you here and weighed and measured you and did all kinds of things I'm not going to go into here. Let's just say you were definitely medically processed, so to speak. Spiritually, though, no one took care of you except your mom, except your mother. After what seemed like a very long time and a lot of people looking at you and messing with you, your mother finally got you back, and the two of you fell in love. So that is because of this beginning of the mothering journey. Some of it is hormonal. There are many, many scientific people that will tell you that that is mostly the bonding that's going on, is just the oxytocin. But I don't believe that that is completely true at all. The thing is, you two had a big, complex relationship way before you actually met and looked into one another's eyes. While she was pregnant with you, you two shared cells with one another. And those cells that you shared, they stay with her in different parts of her body, heart, liver, lungs, literally any place, for the rest of her life. You never leave her. Just think about the spiritual meaning of that. While you may move out of her body in your journey, you are embedded as part of hers for the rest of hers. That's just one way the two of you connected. If your mother needed help with an infection in her heart or, for instance, her liver, you made special cells to help heal her while she carried you. You're like, I didn't know all of this. I know. Some women have fewer allergies and illnesses because of the fetal ability to heal the mother. You literally can heal your mother while she carries you. This relationship continues after you're born. When you have your first viruses in your first year and your mother is breastfeeding, she's able to give you exactly the antibodies you need in her breast milk within 20 minutes of contacting the virus. She has the innate ability to give you what you need too. That is a good thing to remember in puberty when we don't feel that at all. Nostalgia may be the only thing that gets us through some of those days, so just remember. Now, there are many scientific studies to tell you about all of those wonderful things, and that is what we call them, evolutionary or scientific. The wonder of reproduction, well, they are all of that, but I also think it is the deep spiritual journey that we share before we know we are sharing it. The relationship we share with our mother is one of the most defining in our lives, no matter how it continues. I think the biology follows the spiritual relationship in which we are engaged all through our lives. We embody what we spiritually already know. In my journey, the choice as to when to become a mother educated me quickly as to how political birth or not giving birth could be. Before I knew I was to be a mother at all, I was in Washington, D.C., marching for reproductive rights with those I worked with at the first clinic mentioned in my bio, which you guys didn't hear. So I worked in an abortion clinic when I was in my 20s. And we marched in Washington in 1987. And there were so many people at that march that we couldn't even begin to march for 2 hours. That was in 1987. I worked with that first clinic. I looking very confident, and something we seem to have lost once. I looked very confident, but I was marching for something we've lost once again. I guess I didn't protest loudly enough, or maybe I just wasn't heard. It was just as important then as it is now to empower women in their own reproductive journey, because it is one of the most spiritual things in which we engage. That wasn't my first thought as the test stick turned pink when my turn came in May of 1994. I was terrified. Next, I wanted to have some way to say as to how that experience was to go. Just as my parents went their own way into the Methodist Church, I went my own way in the birth of my child. Having worked in a women's clinic and in reproductive rights, I was pretty aware that there are any number of things that can come between a woman and her relationship with her body, as well as her child. So I kept reading, and I decided to do a singularly revolutionary act. I decided to give birth at home with a midwife in the Midwest, in a state where home birth midwives were mostly underground and illegal by statute. The practice of home birth midwifery in Missouri was illegal by statute at the time that I did that. But like many women before me, whether it was for the abortion they wanted or midwives practicing in the shadows, I found one. And I did give birth at home with my midwife. That choice and that journey is the reason I began studying midwives in America and extended that research into Europe. I found that the most likely to have a space for me as a woman, the most likely people to do that, to make space for me as a woman, that was a midwife. I have something to tell you. Prostitution is not the oldest profession, not even close. Midwives are the oldest profession. The oldest midwifery text was Greek and written by a woman who dressed as a man to work as an obstetrician. Her name was Agnodice. She was almost put to death when she was discovered, but the women protested until she was saved because they wanted her care. That's patient advocacy at its best, don't you think? Midwifery means literally with woman. That is what midwives do. They are on the journey with you. They are there, to be present, and are the closest thing historically and currently to a spiritual birth professional. Midwives help you do the best you can at what you already know how to do. They are working with your nutrition and overall health way before you are birthing your baby. They also assume that you can do it, not that they need to get in there. They make a space for the journey to be yours, because the birthing journey belongs to you and to the relationship of you with your child. Midwives are the original spiritual practitioners of people. They acknowledge historically and currently the journey of the soul of the one entering. In Europe through the Middle Ages, midwives had to be of good moral character if they were to administer last rites, if the baby was stillborn. So what's interesting about that is an obstetrician asked a midwife, what do you guys do when you're doing resuscitation on an infant when they're born if they need that? What do you guys do that we don't do? And the answer was, well, we do exactly what you do, except we call to the soul of the baby. We call to the baby to enter. I worked for the mayor of Kansas City to reduce infant mortality because I saw an injustice in the delivery of care for women during pregnancy. It was important to me that all women had the same power to determine how that soul journey was to begin and had the best chance of having the most time with their children. The one thing I studied before I began was the childbirth systems of other countries, as I said. So the U.S. has the highest infant mortality rate of any developed country and the lowest use and support of midwifery. Those two go together. The lower amount of midwives in America is why our children are at risk. And what you're seeing here, that is the important part, is that this is for Kansas City, the city where I was working. The red bar is the number of deaths for black and brown children in the city. Nearly 3 times higher. There is another circle, and an important one for those who do this work, that of the birth of a soul and the death of a soul in a very short time. That was and still is for many brown and black children the way that the journey begins and ends, just that fast. It is also why naming and personhood, and often what is considered the embodiment of the soul, takes place much after birth in many religious traditions, except one. There is a wonderful practice for Islamic children in childbirth. It was the most beautiful tradition I observed in my many hours of sitting births and observing families in this sacred process. And I saw this in the Netherlands, actually. After a child is born, as soon as the umbilical cord is cut, an Islamic father whispers a prayer into the ear of his newborn child. This tradition is called adhan. It is a blessing to Allah that the child is born, and the child is called to God and Islam in the prayer. And he does that just right after they're born. Christening, bris, and other blessings often happen because our embodiment is at times in a very tenuous place. And it is not a very long journey. Most religious birth traditions happen many days after birth because embodiment can be precarious, especially for those born very, very much before we expected them. By the way, the spiritual journey begins no matter when you are embodied. The breast milk of women who give birth prematurely have exactly what a premature child needs to help them survive. It is not mature breast milk and has a very different set of nutrients and antibodies. In fact, it's almost all the antibodies because they don't have any. So what happens next? What happens after the doctor leaves, after the baby shower and the looking and the oohing and the eyeing? We have the honor of passing on the wisdom we just gained in the experience, which is why so many people have worked to change childbirth in hospitals. For we are now the midwives of our own journey and that of our child. We continue with them on a journey that, if we are lucky, will last for the rest of our lives. It will not last for the rest of theirs. The most difficult loss in our lives is that of a child. If you're a mother, it is the loss of your child. And for the mother, it's for the child. It affects us in ways that the loss of a father does not, and much differently when we lose our mom. I spent a long time working to make sure women could birth where they wanted, and the practitioner and people they wanted there, always as safely as possible. Since my daughter's birth in 1995, I've been clear about the spiritual significance and the sacred nature of the birth event. The connection between us, especially women, as we mother and learn how to mother, begins also before we are born. When a woman is carrying a female child, a girl child has twice as many ova before she is born as when she is born, and all she will have in her lifetime. So my mother was carrying the possibility of Emma when she carried me. She was the Russian nesting doll, and so was I. Here's a circle that includes Emma and me and the Kansas City Center, the first center I was in. That's my mother at 9 years old, me at 9 years old, and Emma at 9 years old. It's interesting to see the genetics, isn't it? Let me see. There we go. That's the center in Kansas City. This is a picture of something that she and Angelica White drew on the floor under her feet, under the podium there, when I led an event called Pastels for Peace. That's Emma and what she and Angelica drew there. So their friendship led Emma to encourage me to go to the center in Kansas City, which led me to the next center, my practitioner studies, and to this church. In fact, when I first met with Reverend Linda and Reverend Rish in 2012, I showed them the slides for the Pastels for Peace event, which you just saw. I don't even know if they remember that. Later, it is how I began my service at this center as youth director. My service in this community as youth director are some of the best memories I have of my time in Eugene. It was a very meaningful job and the subject of another talk for another time. But for today, please know that every midwifery principle is at work in ministry to families. And as I look through my pictures of years working with children here, I remember that everything and all the time I spent in that ministry was meaningful to me and to the spiritual journey of the women experiencing the center. So the mothers that come in, the families that come in, all connected to me. In fact, I've just been talking to somebody that I connected with during that time to see her on Mother's Day. Those connections were and are all sacred, and they're still sacred. Moving from here to go back to Kansas City to care for my mother was a disruption of some circles. But my return does allow me to close some of them. And this talk is part of that work. So let me tell you what happened next. In 2017, I moved back to Kansas City to help take care of a mother that didn't really know who I was anymore. In her memory, I had been lost. It was a very difficult thing to rectify in my spiritual journey with my mother, since we had spent so much of it together. However, I had to decide how I was going to walk this teaching. I didn't come back to take care of her. I didn't go back to take care of her because she remembered me. I decided to go back to take care of her because I remembered her. In fact, I had been the keeper of many of her memories. I could only have done that well with her because I had lived in the same city with her for so long. I was the one, and we made that agreement long before we knew how much of her past she would be unable to recover. 7 months after I returned, my stepfather, her main caregiver, made his transition. It was unexpected and traumatic for all of us since we didn't really get a chance to say goodbye to him. It did, however, help me feel more confident in listening to my intuition. That still small voice you guys hear about, right? It told me to go back, and I was well established in her world again when he made his transition so I could help her with that loss. Over the 3 years after I moved, I had the honor of acting as midwife to her as she let go of her memories and pain, slowly but surely. Remember that when people lose their memories, they don't just lose the bad ones, they lose the good ones. They lose all of them. So some of the pain that they had, they don't remember either. Her memory loss was in process when I moved to Oregon in 2012 and was complete when I returned. This is called by grief specialists ambiguous grief. That's an interesting term, isn't it? Someone is there for themselves, but not for you. The meaning of the importance in the relationship to their awareness is gone, but the same feeling is experienced by parents who are estranged by their children, by the way. Ambiguous grief doesn't end, it just continues, hence the name. It is best thought of as a circular process since a person may at times remember things about you, even if they don't remember you. Finally, in January of 2020, just as the pandemic began, I had the opportunity to close the circle with my mother. In a bed in a nursing home, my brother and I and a hospice worker, she let go of my hand. It was the only time in my life that she did that. And it was the only time in her life that she did it too. And so it goes. We don't know how to completely let go of our children, but that is the circle journey we are on with them. We hold their hands until we can't any longer. I didn't know many mothers who know how to let go completely until we have to, even when the relationship is very difficult or painful. We began together and we need them to finish our circle. Sometimes we are lucky enough to be part of the circle in the most loving and sacred of ways. I was there when this baby was born. Keep going, keep going. There you go. I was there when this baby was born. She's very beautiful, isn't she? Just in the world, babies have a waxy stuff called vernix to protect their skin. They need it in the uterus to protect them. It is very fantastic stuff. Mostly you look just like this in the hospital. Midwives try to leave you with your mother as long as they can, and much longer than most other birth professionals, usually so that the entry is more gentle. This is my niece, and my sister opted for a traditional hospital birth. Fast forward to July of 2021, and I had the sacred honor to be present when this baby birthed her own baby. This is Catherine with Delicio. Catherine gave birth in a birth center with a midwife. She made that decision before I knew she was even pregnant and was very sure that's what she wanted. I have the honor of once again being part of that circle, as she is due again next month with a girl. So I've been given the sacred gift of being able to be with both of them in the best midwifery tradition and watch those Russian nesting dolls come alive. I now have the sacred opportunity to make a Venn diagram of my life. That's that thing in math where you had two circles that were together and that part that was in the middle. And many of my circles are intersecting, including this one today. As I work as a practitioner in this community once again, and we think about how a youth ministry might look once again, I can't help but think that there is a reason to be back in this circle of this community at this time. I have a final circle for you, and this is a really good story. And this one has to do with reading the signs when you see them on a journey. When I was in 3rd grade, my family was living in Plattsburgh, Missouri, in a very old parsonage. This is not unusual. My family lived in many old parsonages. But this time, the church decided to buy a new one in a new subdivision on the edge of town. And my mother was allowed to pick carpet colors and paint. For the first time in her life, she had a new home just for her experience. Next to our home was an open field, not yet developed. I crossed through it to go back and forth to school. One day as I passed, I discovered a nest of eggs. I watched them with curiosity and wonder. I then discovered that the field was about to be torn up in order to build another new home. So I went into action. I made a large sign making them aware of the nest and the birds. I posted my sign in the field. Then something wonderful happened. Someone, and I think it was my dad, called the local Plattsburgh newspaper, and they came out and did a story about my conservation efforts. The birds were not moved, unfortunately. This was 1973, long before birds were moved to sanctuaries. Unfortunately, the story was about my valiant but doomed effort. The birds didn't survive. But come with me to 2022. I am, for the second time in my life, able to have a new home just for me experience. It isn't new construction, but it is my home. As Rob Bradley and I have just bought a house. I have just done Wednesday service about one of my favorite things, the egg. Easter is not yet here, and I love the spiritual message of the egg. I decided that when I moved in, I was going to paint my living room area robin's egg blue, which I did do. About a week before we closed, my realtor texted me this picture. A mother robin had chosen the basket on the door of my new home to make a nest and a safe place for her babies to be born. The seller's realtor left the nest alone, and she wanted us to know midwives are often chosen by mammals as a safe place to birth, closets, porches, and in my case, the opportunistic basket. On April 27th, it is time to move in. I'm at the house, and just minutes before the movers, I'm looking all over for the nest. The picture, as you can see, doesn't show where the nest is. So I finally located it on the door, but that was after the movers had brushed by it 2 or 3 times. At that moment, I channeled my 9-year-old self and went into action. This time, though, no birds were going to die. I shut down the moving through the front door. I forbid anyone from using it until the birds had fledged, and it worked. They hatched and went about their spiritual way. The same basket was even used for a second brood by another breeding pair that same year. So if you are a robin, I'm the place to go. We continued our relationship with all reproductive robins this year by building an actual nesting platform for them in a better place on our porch, and somebody used it. So thank you for coming with me on our journey today. I am hoping that this day is a spiritual touchstone for you, or a day of loving and grateful reflection, or simply of grace knowing that you are formed, that you formed your mother at least as much as she formed you. The relationship was sacred from the beginning. Please have a wonderful and blessed Mother's Day. Thank you.
We share the gifts that we've been given. This is our sacred offering. And I know as we share our blessings in this wonderful space, that gift that we give, each and every one of us, creates more abundance. As we give, we receive many, many times over. I know we are blessed. I know this center is blessed with abundance, and the abundance we share blesses the center and the community that we serve. And so it is.
Please join us in singing this song. Everything in this world goes around, flowing with abundance, it knows no bounds. Giving and receiving, we circulate the love with gratitude and knowing there's always enough. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks with this offering. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks for everything. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks for this offering. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks for everything.
Hello again.
Hello. Oh. Mother's Day. Thanks again. Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas. Well, thank you, Betty, for that lovely. That was really interesting. That was fascinating. There were a lot of things I was like, no way. Really? I believe it. I'm very uneducated about it compared to you. But thank you for coming here and sharing that with us. I did not know we were going to have the change in the talk, but that's okay because this song, it might not directly have to do with mamas, but it kind of has to do with their babies. In that, you know, any of us who have ever mothered or parented another person knows what it's like to want to hold tight to them and fear for them in some way. To, you know, we don't want them to get hurt. We don't want them to experience the bad things. But at the same time, our job is to fledge them, to allow them to go out into the world, find their way, and seize life. And that's what this song is about. And it's about trying to really try to relish that freedom and to go out and explore. And it's called Seize the Day. I know a girl who was schooled in Manhattan. She reads dusty books and learns phrases in Latin. She is an author, or maybe a poet, a genius, but it's just this world doesn't know it. She works on her novel most every day, and if you laugh, she will say, seize the day, seize whatever you can, 'cause life slips away just like hourglass sand. Seize the day, pray for grace from God's hand, then nothing will stand in your way. Seize the day, la-dee-da-dee-di, la-dee-da-dee-di, da-di. La-dee-da-dee-di, la-dee-da-dee-di, da-di. Well, I know a doctor, a fine young physician, left his six-figure job for a mission position. He's healing the sick in an African clinic. He works in the dirt and writes home to the cynics. He says we work through the night, so most every day, as we watch the sunrise, we can say, seize the day, seize whatever you can, 'cause life slips away just like hourglass sand. Seize the day, pray for grace from God's hand, then nothing will stand in your way. Seize the day, la-dee-da-dee-di, la-dee-da-dee-di, da-di. La-dee-da-dee-di, la-dee-da-dee-di, da-di. Well, I know a man who's been doing some thinking. He's as bitter and cold as the whiskey he's drinking. He's talking about fear, about chances not taken. If you listen to him, you can hear his heart breaking. He says one day you're a boy, the next day you're dead. I wish way back when someone had said, seize the day, seize whatever you can, 'cause life slips away just like hourglass sand. Seize the day, pray for grace from God's hand, then nothing will stand in your way. Seize the day. La-dee-da-dee-di, 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 la-dee-da-dee-di. Well, one thing I've noticed, wherever I wander, everyone's got a dream they can follow or squander. You can do what you will with the days you are given. I'm trying to spin mine on the business of living. So I'll keep singing my songs off of any old stage. You can laugh if you want, I still say, seize the day, seize whatever you can, 'cause life slips away just like hourglass sand. Seize the day, pray for grace from God's hand, then nothing will stand in your way. Seize the day, la-dee-da-dee-di, la-dee-da-dee-di, da-di. La-dee-da-dee-di, la-dee-da-dee-di, da-di. La-dee-da-dee-di, la-dee-da-dee-di, da-di. La-dee-da-dee-di, la-dee-da-dee-di, da-da-da-da-da-da. Just like your mama said. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Haley. That was fabulous, as always. And as we were reminded, Haley will be with us Friday as well, Haley and Matt. So it's time for announcements, all the good things that we're going to be doing together, all the things that are making us a community. And I am grateful to be able to have the opportunity to share that and to be able to have had Betty here today. And she is relicensed with us. She moved her license here. She is still living in Kansas City, but she'll be here about once a quarter, and we'll be having her for various different things, and we're very delighted about that. So this week, lots of stuff going on. Tuesdays is Men's Coffee at 10:30 at Alon Brothers on 5th Street Market. And 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Sorry. Yeah, short-term memory, I don't know, yeah. And then Wednesday evening is the gathering where you can come together for community and music and meditation and just good energy, an opportunity to share a completely different experience from the Sunday morning gathering. And it's every bit as wondrous and sacred, and it touches people in different ways. So please give yourself an opportunity to show up here at 6:30 for that. Then this Saturday at 10:30 to noon, the women's group will be meeting online with Kathy Day, and check our CSLEugene.org for more details and to get the link for that. The monthly conversation then here in the social hall, Karuna, who is a peripheral member of our community, has taken over the death and dessert on the third Saturday of each month, and it's an opportunity to talk about the opposite end of life from that birthing is the dying. It's basically the primary cause of death is birth. So if you were born, you will die. We need to get comfortable with it. You can't die if you weren't born. So Friday night is the anniversary. If you haven't gotten your ticket and you really, really want to, twist my arm and, slip me a little something on the side, and we can let you in. But we're pretty much capped it out. We've finalized everything. I do need some help Thursday evening after the tables come in, getting them set up. So if anybody can help with that, that would be awesome. Haley and Matt are going to be providing the music that evening. We will have a message from Dr. Ken Gordon, and our beloved Kathy Day has got a silent auction that'll be going on. The banquet will be across the back of the room with all the tables here, and then down this side of the room there will be the silent auction where you get an opportunity for the many gifts that have been brought as an opportunity to bid on them and add a little extra fun to the evening. So then our annual, Sue Mulvihill, I recognize you. I haven't seen what time it's I will be sending an email out to everybody as to when we want you to arrive, and because we'll be doing a little socializing before the dinner, but plan on being available around 6, and then we'll have a little pre-dinner socializing. I just didn't want to share all that, and I've lost so anyway. St. Benedict's, I'm so excited that we have Christy Snow. We had a smaller than normal turnout, and so we were not able to support having 2 facilitators, so we had to release Jack from being here with us. But Christy is absolutely wonderful, and she is fully capable of taking care of a group for the whole weekend by herself. And so please, if you have the opportunity to join us, please do so. This is beautiful, sacred time. And we've extended the early bird pricing, so it's $250 for 2 nights lodging, 5 meals, and a full conference, and the river. I mean, the river alone is worth $250. All these others are just bonuses thrown in. So if you've been thinking about it and haven't decided yet, please do so. You will be grateful. And because of the smaller turnout, those of you who have issues with being upstairs, we have a limited number of ground level housing for people who cannot do the stairs. So talk to me if you need special arrangements. And check out the book boutique. Check out whatever, many opportunities to serve, helping with the helping with the anniversary is the big one right now. Helping before, helping during, helping after. So if you're available to do that, please let me know. And thanks to Trish Vowles for the beautiful artwork, and it is available for sale. And Maggie, if you would do a brief summary on the.
So here at the Center for Spiritual Living in Eugene, we have a group of practitioners, and we go through some years of study, and we are here to support you in prayer. So after the service, if you'd like, we could do, I think, a miracle minute with you where you tell us what's going on. It might be something you're concerned about, or maybe you just want to seize the day. So if you're thinking you want more of something to seize the day, or there's something you're ready to release, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. We can do that for you. So we'd be happy to meet with you for a few minutes for a discussion and prayer. We have several people available. Also, if you would like to submit a prayer, you can submit it on the website, and there's a container out in the foyer, a gold container where you can also submit a prayer if you like, and we will hold that in consciousness and prayer for you during this week. So I'd like to have the practitioners, I'm Maggie Covarrubias, and have the other practitioners introduce themselves.
Kenny Cook, Reverend Trish, Reverend Linda, Reverend Liz, Kathy Day.
So again, we're here for you if you'd like to seize the day. And now I think we're ready for our closing song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, we are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. So let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
If you so choose, repeat after me. I breathe.
I breathe.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Thanks, Spirit. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Spirit. Thanks, Mom.
And so it is.
And so it is. Happy Mother's Day, everyone.